I am Zazubaar, and welcome to another episode of the Demons from Outer Space. Joining me, as always, is Dylan McCandless, a.k.a. Super DM64.
Hello.
So we're back, Dylan, after a short time. No breaks in between these two episodes. Less than a week in between them, in fact.
Indeed. We recorded the last episode on a Sunday, which was an unusual occurrence.
Yeah,
because Bill needed last Thursday to put the finishing touches on Gamerapalooza, and now we are recording at our normal time the following Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. And this one will go up less than a week later. So that's exciting, Dylan. We're back to the regular schedule.
Yes.
So there were a couple of things that have happened. My concern was, when I was listening back to the last one, was, wow, this is a really good episode. Now we're going to come back 4 days later and be like, hey, so Dylan, what have you been up to in these 4 days? There's actually a lot that has happened over these past couple days that I wanted to talk about. Mainly a couple of TV shows. So.
Oh yes.
We spent a lot of last episode, less than I thought we would actually, discussing the past few episodes of Doctor Who. Because
right.
We hadn't talked about them. We had just finished talking about Deep Breath. And we talked about all those. And Dylan mentioned that he had seen Time Heist and I hadn't. So I figured we should open this one with the fact that I finally sat down and watched Time Heist. So, weird episode. I liked it. But it's interesting because it opens as being a really dark episode.
Mm-hmm.
And being really, scary, but it ends so optimistically.
Yeah, it's like they make you think there's, all this serious stuff going on. And I mean, there is serious stuff going on. That was a poor choice of words. They open it and make you feel like it's going to be a dark, scary story. And then do a complete 180-degree turn. Just like, nope.
Yeah. It's bizarre, and I still don't... These last two episodes have been very, screwy with the time, time and time and the timeline, in terms of the future affecting the past and the past affecting the present.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode did that too, in that it doesn't really have a villain.
No, not really. The villain actually winds up being the person who sets everything in motion, and what I mean by that is the villain winds up becoming not a villain.
Right. Exactly.
The villain actually ends up being the
provocateur of the rescue.
The villain becomes the protagonist and the antagonist antagonist at the same time. The villain is diametrically opposed to themselves. It's
In more ways than one, because you have that with the owner of the bank with Calabraxis,
mm-hmm.
and then you also have it with the doctor and the architect, because they're all the same people. Calabraxis, am I saying that right?
I think so.
Calabraxa or whatever. It's a long name. It's like the name of the planet that the Slovene come from. It's
Raxacoricophalopatorius. Yeah.
That's it. That one. And it's similar to that.
And its sister planet, Clom.
Clom. So it's okay. So the Doctor and the spoilers if you haven't seen Time Heist yet, but most of you probably have. If not, I apologize. We're going to spoil it.
I love the fact.
So
I love the fact that this episode is for a while actually. It's like Ocean's 11 with the Doctor.
Yeah, which has been done before, kind of.
Where exactly? What are you talking about?
Well, it's not, and this is not Ocean's 11. This is more of a spy thing, but it's kind of like Day of the Moon and the Impossible Astronaut, where it's the Doctor with a team. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And they're performing an inside job, so to speak.
Yeah, but what we have going on here is it's a heist movie with the Doctor in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It winds up not being a heist movie at the end. As we've said, there's a big turn near the end, but for a large
portion... Yeah, they're not robbing the bank. They're performing a rescue.
For a large portion of the runtime, it's a bank robbery story with the Doctor, and it's fantastic.
It's very interesting, and it's also interesting because they have no idea why they're robbing the bank.
Exactly. All the stuff with the memory wiping in this episode was very... they played with that a lot.
And again, I need to watch it again because I still don't think I fully grasp it. So, why exactly did they have to do that?
Wipe the memories?
Yes.
Because if they remembered why they were robbing the bank, then they would be more susceptible to the effects of the teller. Because
that's right. Okay, never mind. I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
By not knowing why they're robbing the bank, they're not really guilty in any way.
Exactly.
So they are safe from the teller. Well,
who's also not really a bad guy.
No.
All the villains have reasons for what they do, including the main the manager of the bank, who is a clone.
Indeed. The security manager specifically.
Right, that's it. Yeah. It's all very interesting and very, very well done. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm glad that Doctor Who has kind of gone back, because for these past couple episodes, or for a little while now, ever since like the end of season 7, it's kind of felt too action oriented to me. So, for instance, you take the end of Time of the Doctor, where the Doctor is blowing up Daleks with blasts of regeneration energy.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't feel like Doctor Who to me. I liked that. It made sense. But that's not what Doctor Who usually is. That's an action scene.
Another thing I'm liking about this season so far is it's gone back to being a little bit more episodic than what we were getting in seasons 7 and 6.
I agree. I don't mind that. I like both, but...
I mean, there's still an interconnecting plot, obviously, but it's not...
But it hasn't been mentioned in these past 2 episodes, interestingly enough.
And it's not as pronounced, you know. In 5 and 6... Or no, not 5 and 6. 5 is pretty episodic for the most part. 6 and 7. In 6 and 7, the overarching plot of the 2 seasons is so interconnected into everything that it stops feeling surrealistic at a point.
I don't agree with that with Series 7. I think that those episodes are very episodic.
I mean...
almost to a fault, because it doesn't feel like there's any forward momentum.
Well, the problem is...
I feel that way with...
The problem about Season 7, actually, is it depends on which half we're talking about. The Amy and Rory stuff is...
Right, that's very episodic.
The Amy and Rory stuff is episodic, but then when we get to the Clara stuff, they begin another cycle of just, like, everything being connected.
Yeah, but even then, it's more of, like, a light interconnecting thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Season 6, I would almost say Season 5 was a little bit more of an ongoing plot than Season 7, but not that much.
I mean, not really, though, because in a lot of the episodes, he didn't even notice the cracks that were there. Like, they would just show up in the audience. We'd be like, oh, look, there's the crack this week.
What I will say is that Seasons 5 through 7 were way more continuity-heavy than these have been.
It's true. Very true.
That is, I think, the bigger thing, is that Seasons 5 through 7 feel obsessed with continuity. Which, again, I don't think that's a bad thing. There are some Doctor Who fans who hate that I've read articles written online by, who just detest Doctor Who being so continuity-heavy.
Well, I mean, if you look at Classic Who, there's canon, but there's no real, like, major focus on what's canon and what's not, honestly. It's kind of loose in terms of...
It's more about the plot of each thing. It's more plot-driven.
When it comes to Classic Who canon, each and every single Whovian gets to pick what episodes they want, because... Yeah,
exactly. That's very true. And it's like, I enjoy that, but I can't watch a series that's all that it has going for it. I'm more of an ongoing story type of person. What I'm more interested in, however, is characters. And by and large, characters that are experiencing an ongoing situation, interacting with people they've met before, and in situations that they've encountered before, it's just that they're developed more. If you watch Classic Who, the characters aren't as... It's like they just don't get as much to do as people, because it's very episodic, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, there isn't really even a focus on them as characters. It's more about them in terms of the plot.
Well, that's one of the things I've always liked about New Who, is that it's always struck more of a balance between those two things.
Especially this season. I think this season has been exceptional at it.
With the exception of the past couple seasons, and I think the reason was that they were building towards that 50th, and now we're past the 50th, we've sort of returned to a state of normalcy.
Which is interesting because of what the 50th did.
Right.
Because it's like the entire status quo is completely different from what it has been for the past 8 years, and it feels more normal than it did before that. Like, you know...
Well, the genius thing about Doctor Who is that the universe is set up in such a way that you can change the status quo.
Absolutely.
And
it's an ever-evolving status quo.
The show
I mean, we have
itself,
a new Doctor, and we have the companion that we've only had for half a season so far. The entire show is completely different than what it has been.
Most television shows...
But it feels the same.
Most television shows have to be careful about not striving too far away from their status quo, because then you alienate your audience. But the way the Who universe is set up, people expect it to change. The show itself regenerates.
That's very true. And I think a lot of shows, like we talked about Breaking Bad once not having a status quo,
mm-hmm.
but there is a difference. Breaking Bad is telling an ongoing story.
Right.
It's not like... Doctor Who and Breaking Bad are different in that Doctor Who is a formula and Breaking Bad is an ongoing narrative that happens to be broken up as a TV show. We've talked about before how it feels more like a movie broken up into 5 seasons.
It's more serialized as opposed to episodic.
But I would almost say that Breaking Bad isn't even episodic. It just feels like acts of a story.
That's what I'm saying. Breaking Bad is not episodic. It's more serialized. That's what I just said.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed that up. But even but it's interesting because Doctor Who was more of was called a serial when it was first on.
Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, I might be completely wrong about this. I might just be an ignorant American, but I think at that time in British television they called everything serials.
Yeah, but it was broken up like blank part 1, blank part 2. But it's interesting. But but that's the difference in a show like Breaking Bad and a show like Doctor Who, but the problem is a show like Breaking Bad, the reason why I think a lot of people rave about how great Breaking Bad is because, and I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, I'm just saying I think why it's different than something like Doctor Who, is that Breaking Bad always feels different, and it never has those awkward episodes where it dances around doing something that it can't do because of the status quo.
Right.
Which Doctor Who doesn't do as much as something like, say... I'm going to point to the Incredible Hulk show from the 70s and 80s, which is a weird example, but it did this a lot. In terms of, we want to have these big dramatic things happen, but we also want to keep this up for a couple more years, so we can't have that happen because we want to retain the status quo. Retaining the status quo can be an enormous hindrance on the show being enjoyable.
Right.
So, for instance, if you go back to season 2 of The Incredible Hulk, they really wanted to have Jack McGee, the reporter, find out that David Banner was alive and that he was the Hulk, but they just couldn't because of the nature of the status quo. They wanted it to be him traveling from town to town week to week, similar to the Doctor's status quo, strangely enough. So they didn't do it, but it's like, and then every other episode they would have to come up with some excuse for it to not happen, some awkward contrivance, and it just gets boring. Then it's 5 seasons of a cat and mouse game that never ends and never develops anywhere. There's no forward momentum, which kind of sucks, and that's something that I don't love because I get bored easily with stuff like that. It's like I don't want to watch 5 seasons of a guy running away from something that's never going to get resolved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is weird because that's one of my favorite TV shows of all time, but it's like that's how I feel about it. And Doctor Who is interesting because it's very similar, but it also is able to change its status quo very easily by changing the main character in certain ways, by having almost like obviously the only thing you have to keep up is an alien in a box traveling from place to place. That's really it, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, that's probably the simplest way you can boil it down.
That's really it. It can be a different version of the Doctor. It can be any companion. and they can go to any point in time or any place in space, and it's pretty much the same show. That's the beauty of it, I think, and I think that's why I enjoy it so much.
It is,
and then there's, of course, all the complexities that come along with the character.
It is a very uniquely set up universe. It's geniusly put together, honestly.
And it's hilarious because it was like it's kind of a patchwork job that they've done over time.
Yeah, but,
like it hasn't always been that way. Like the regeneration thing wasn't always part of it. The Time Lord thing wasn't always part of it. It's interesting.
All this stuff about the universe and how interestingly it's set up, all accidental, pretty much.
Yeah, which is really, really funny. And it's not like it's the only thing that has that. Batman has that too. You know, a lot of people talk about how much they love the Batman mythos, and it's like it wasn't always like that. Mm-hmm. If you looked at we're going to talk about this a little later when we talk about another TV show. But if you look at Gotham, that TV show, that is a perfect premise for a weekly TV show. In terms of exploring a fictional world that's fascinating and that not a lot of people, or that a lot of people want to see explored in terms of Gotham City and the Batman universe.
Right.
Which is awesome, but if you go back to it's interesting because it's like Batman was created by Bob Kane. Well, the character was invented by Bob Kane, but the version of Batman that we now all know and love is not Bob Kane's creation.
Right. It's not like
Bob Kane's Batman was going around killing people.
It's not like Spider-Man. Okay, Stan Lee created Spider-Man. And though the universe has certainly changed over time, it's not essentially all that different from the way it was when Stan Lee first created Spider-Man, honestly.
Not really. That's really interesting. You're right. Spider-Man hasn't... Well, the other thing is that Marvel has never done a full-on reboot before.
True.
If you ask them, no, everything's in continuity, which is not really true.
The only thing close to a reboot they've done was the Ultimate Universe, and that's not really a reboot, it's an alternate universe.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. DC reboots all the time. So it's like... So what that allows you to do is cherry pick what versions you want to make. So it's kind of like now we have this idealized version of Batman or Superman. Even Superman too. Superman's not as extreme, but even still, not everything about Superman came out of that first issue of Action Comics. In fact, very little of it did. But it's really interesting because Doctor Who is the same way.
Yeah, it's like Doctor Who's universe came about in a very similar fashion to Spider-Man, whereas came about in a similar fashion to Batman. I mean, where it changed over time and just became this weird sort of patchwork of everything that had come before. Whereas, I guess, what's another sci-fi property? I guess something like Star Trek or Star Wars is closer.
Yeah, I would say Star Trek and Wars are... But even Star Trek, I would say Star Wars is closer to Spider-Man because if you look at Star Trek, I mean, it hasn't gone through as many drastic shifts as Doctor Who has in terms of it wasn't really like... Because I guess if you go back to the early episodes of TOS, it's pretty close to what it is still considered as.
I mean... For the most part.
But if you look at
there are some drastic differences, but for the most part, yeah.
But if you consider like here, I think is the test. Like how much of what you consider iconic Star Trek stuff was invented by Gene Roddenberry.
When it comes to Star Trek, the technology itself gets upgraded over time, but the universe itself doesn't really change that much in terms of what it is. Like space politics change over time, obviously.
Right.
But in terms of like what the premise of the universe is and like the tone and how it's all set up, it doesn't really change all that much.
We're still going, so there's no need to break it up. So what I was asking you was, if you look at something like Doctor Who, it's like you can't say like who created Doctor Who. It's like, well, there are people who were there when Doctor Who was invented, but nobody really created Doctor Who.
I mean, the person, I guess, who's most responsible, at least for the original incarnation of Doctor Who, and what got the ball rolling is, what's her name?
That chick, yeah.
Yeah, the producer. Shit.
I don't remember. But yeah, if you watch Adventure in Time, in Space and Time, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, God, I wish I could remember her name.
Yeah, I feel bad. But if you look at that, it's like... But then you look at something like Star Trek, it's like, who invented Star Trek? Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah, and ran it for the majority of its existence.
Exactly. Which I think that's why Star Trek is more like Spider-Man, and Doctor Who is more like Batman. Which I think is kind of interesting. But anyway, back to Time Heist.
Oh yeah, weren't you like
where we analyzed the foundations of the series. Now let's talk about the episode itself. I really enjoyed it.
weren't you starting to give a brief plot synopsis before we went off?
Basically, the Doctor gets... It's really complicated, is the thing. Basically, the Doctor and a couple of misfits rob a bank, or at least they break into a bank, and they think they're robbing it, and then over the course of it, they learn that they're not really robbing it, that they're breaking something out of it, and then they get to the main vault, and this is after, like, everybody has died, or at least he thinks they're dead, and then they return... It's really... I don't know how to explain it. I'm lost.
So...
Can you do a better job? Because I can't even, like...
So the Dr. Clara, a cyborg, and Mystique are...
Yeah, pretty much.
Are...
The Dr. Clara, Data, and Mystique.
Are sent to rob the most secure bank in the universe by a mysterious person calling himself the Architect. However, they do not remember anything about the heist because their memories have been wiped for reasons they find out later. They arrive at said bank. They discover why their memory has been wiped. There's a creature that the bank security refers to as the Teller, who can wipe your mind and turn your brain...
Feed off of your brain matter and turn it into soup.
Turns your brain...
Which is a terrifying visual.
Turns your brain into soup if it detects even the slightest amount of guilt. So by wiping their memories and not knowing why the hell they're there, they have pretty much absolved themselves of any, like, real guilt. And so they're not easily detectable by the Teller. As time goes on, the cyborg and Mystique die, quote unquote, but in reality they've been teleported.
Well, they kill themselves to avoid the Teller.
Indeed, but we find out later that they've just been teleported elsewhere. Basically, what it all boils down to is the Doctor was the Architect the entire time before wiping his own memory. He's the one who came up with the plan, because the woman who runs the bank, who has that long-ass name that Bill was saying earlier...
Calaproxis.
Yes, her. The woman who runs the bank, way off in the future, regrets some of the things that she did. She was just a terrible person. And recruits the Doctor to break into her own bank, go against the younger version of herself, and free this creature that they're keeping captive, which is the female of the species that the Teller is. They had...
They're the last of their kind.
Yes, it was said before that the Teller was the last of its species. It turns out that there is another one being held in captivity, and the Teller is not actually an evil creature that enjoys feeding on the brains of the guilty. He does it because they've got his mate.
Yeah, and also isn't a mindless monster either. He does it to make sure they won't kill his mate.
So it's actually a very intelligent creature. So they succeed. They
just happens to look like a big fucking slug.
They succeed. They break the creature out of the bank. Mystique and the cyborg both get rewarded for helping. Mystique gets this stuff.
The serum that will allow her to
gene suppressant
touch people without... Yeah, exactly.
Gene suppressant is what they call it, because I keep calling her Mystique. In reality, what she is an alien who becomes whoever she touches.
No, she's not an alien. She's a mutant human.
Oh, mutant human, whatever.
So she is Mystique.
Oh, she is Mystique. Oh, my God. Anyway, she becomes whoever she touches, basically, and this gene suppressant allows her to maintain...
So it's kind of like Rogue and Mystique had a child.
Kind of. And she's black.
Black Mystique and Rogue's child.
But, I mean, Mystique could be black. We'd never know.
She's not, because we see her in X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past as a white girl.
But that's the image she creates for herself. Aha.
But that's... you gotta assume that underneath all the blue...
And the plot thickens. No, Mystique.
Well, no, Dylan, she's not a black girl because she's a blue girl.
Okay, Mystique is Caucasian, everybody.
So it doesn't even matter.
It's an established piece of the universe. Mystique, had she not been a mutant, would have been Caucasian. I'm just fucking with you. Anyway.
So I'm just saying that you're wrong.
Basically,
because usually, no. Here's why. Because every time we have these debates, I lose. So when I win finally, I need to run it into the ground.
The only difference is usually when you win a debate about something stupid that I've said, it was originally started as a joke. Usually when I win a debate about something stupid you've said, you were serious.
Like when?
Cakes that are bigger on the outside.
Well, you know what, Dylan? Cakes can be bigger on the outside.
Komodo dragon iguana sex.
That can happen too.
What was that?
It's all possible in my fantasy.
So basically what I've just taken a really long road to say is that Mystique can now...
What were you even trying to say? Okay, go ahead.
Mystique can now function in society. And the cyborg gets some sort of Deus Ex Machina doohickey that can...
clean slate rebooter thing.
Which can restore his memory banks, because apparently long ago he erased his memory banks for some reason I don't recall. And
to save his family from being discovered when he was interrogated as a hacker in prison.
Right, and now he has no memories of anything that happened before that point, including his friends and family. He has no idea who they are.
Yep.
But he gets the little rebooter thingy, mabobber, and can now remember.
And the Doctor and Clara do it because they're good people.
Indeed.
I thought that they were actually going to get some kind of reward. Like, I thought maybe the Doctor was going to get something connected to Gallifrey. Clara was going to get something connected to her parents or her mother who died. Something like that, I was assuming.
Scarecrow would get a brain.
It is a strangely Wizard of Oz type episode, isn't it?
In a way. If you watch it with that lens and don't ask too many questions.
So that makes... No, that doesn't make Clara Toto. Who's Toto in this situation? There isn't really a Toto. Not the Gamera thing from Gamera the Brave.
And
the dog.
If only K9 had been there.
Yeah, then he would have been the Toto. Now whenever I say Toto, I'm going to think of Gamera from Gamera the Brave.
Right, well, yeah, I recently watched Rebirth of Mothra 2, and there's a furry little creature in that movie, and guess what its name is?
Toto?
Gorgo.
Its name is Gorgo?
Its name is Gorgo.
That's amazing.
And at the end of the movie, it turns out that it has magical powers, and it transforms Mothra into Rainbow Mothra.
That's really bizarre. What is it? It looks like a furry thing? It looks like fucking Furby or something?
I mean, you're not far off. Imagine, like, Cousin It. But,
oh, God.
But, like, with an eye hole.
How does it look, special effects-wise?
I mean, it's the Rebirth of Mothra films, so not fantastic.
Does it look better or worse than the dragon mini thing from the first movie?
A little better, because it's actually done practically, for the most part.
That's CG, man. That's CG.
Fairy just looks terrible.
Yeah, Fairy. Well, here's my problem with Fairy. So they do this weird thing when Fairy gets shot down.
Yeah,
where she like turns into like a deflated, like bony thing, and it looks really weird. This is a weird thing.
All right, Bill. This is what Gorgo looks like.
Oh God, I'm terrified of what this is gonna look like. Will I have nightmares?
I don't know. You might. Also, it has an antenna on it.
Oh, that's terrifying. Oh, I saw a picture of this once. Never mind.
Yes.
Does it talk?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank God.
That is a weird looking... It looks like,
If it did talk, I don't know if I would want it to have, like...
It looks like...
I don't know if I would want it to have, like, a cute, squeaky, like, animal voice, or if I would want it to have, like, a wise, like, wizard voice with that...
No, I imagine a wise wizard voice. It looks like the Boobas from the show Booba.
Mothra, remember who you are.
I imagine it talking like Morgan Freeman from the Lego Movie. Revenge me!
Did you just say revenge me?
Yes, I did.
That's not proper. No.
You know what, Dylan? It's Morgan Freeman. He can say whatever he wants.
Damn, like...
He doesn't care about your issues, Dylan.
That damn Mega Bloks picture. No.
It's Lego Movie, Dylan.
I prefer
so
to call it Mega Bloks picture.
I want to see a Mega Bloks picture, though. What will be the plot? It'd have to be like the same as the Lego Movie.
Pretty much.
No, it wouldn't have to be the same, but it would have to be like some of the rules would have to be similar.
No, it's the story.
I'm not sure if it would have the same plot twist as the Lego Movie, though.
It's the story of a young boy who wants to be the best Mega Bloks builder in the whole damn country.
He's played by you, obviously.
And he just builds stuff with Mega Bloks, and he enters like a Mega Bloks tournament. And there's this other dick kid who's like super good at Mega Bloks.
He's the Lucas of Mega Bloks.
And like they have this like rival.
The super Mega Block. It's so bad.
They have this passive aggressive rivalry over who can build the best Mega Bloks. And then there's a.
Can they turn out to be a gay couple?
Why not? They hook up at the end. Why not?
So it'd be like their rivalry comes from contained sexual tension.
I can believe that. I mean, these kids are playing with Mega Bloks.
Wait, how old are these kids?
They're like, I don't know, 9. No.
So they can still be gay. That's fine.
What was I about to say? I guess they have this passive-aggressive rivalry. Finally, the main Mega Bloks kid has an 80s-style sports montage.
I also decided that the kids in Gamera vs. Guiron are gay.
I could believe that.
I mean, Akio is just touching Tom's dick when they crash land on Terra.
How about that awkward scene in The Brave where the kids are trying to pull each other's pants off? I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's just because it's Japan and it's different. It's just different in Japan, Dylan.
They're like trying to pull the other kid's swim trunks down and they keep saying, take it off. And I'm like, whoa, what?
It's so true though. It's really weird. It's a really weird scene.
I didn't click on child porn.
I did. What?
I was surprised when I got Gamera the Brave.
Oh my god.
Why does this movie begin with a giant turtle as opposed to an ice cream truck?
Yeah, indeed. But anyway, so I've decided that. But back to Time Heist. So, I don't like Peter Capaldi wearing a black shirt underneath his black jacket.
Well, that's a strange thing to complain about. Why?
It doesn't look right to me. That would be like if, when Matt Smith was the Doctor, if he wore a... No, never mind, he did that. Never mind. Well, I was gonna say, it just, everything blends in together, so it just doesn't look good. I mean, I'm not one to criticize fashion, but I'm just saying that as a costume, it just doesn't look as good as it did in the first episode. With the red and the white, and even the red on the red looked better. I guess the Doctor can't wear the same thing every day, though I don't really know why it matters.
I mean, if you look at Tin, even though his outfit was pretty static, he always alternated between the blue and brown suit.
Yeah, but at least like they had their own color scheme.
Matt had different jackets across his seasons.
Yeah, exactly. But they had the alternated color schemes. Matt Smith would change the bow tie. And then, of course, he had the different costume at the end of Season 7. I like the different costume more than the original costume. But it's just the black on black doesn't look good to me. Because it just looks like he's wearing like a jumpsuit. Which is interesting given the next episode. He is wearing a jumpsuit. I'm really excited about the next episode.
Yeah, what's it called again?
The Caretaker.
Right.
Because a Scottish doctor is going to be a caretaker. That just makes sense to me.
I have no idea what it's going to be about.
It's about that Mecha Garrett thing from Mass Effect coming down to Earth and killing people.
Oh.
It looks kind of like Zeta from Batman Beyond, where it's like this cyborg that was built to kill people when it goes on a rampage. Except that this probably won't have the thing that Zeta had of Zeta being a good guy.
I really hope these aliens from Time Heist make another appearance, because I liked them.
Tell her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not really anything special, though.
And now they've gone off and they've
They're naked now. I don't know why they have to be naked. They look like the things at the beginning of Men in Black.
Well, clearly that's their normal state. That thing that...
They need to wear clothes, though, Dylan, because they're fat, and they've got, like, bits.
The thing that the teller was wearing in the bank was clearly like a straitjacket, so I mean, obviously...
But couldn't he, like, wear, like a nice jeans and T-shirts? I mean,
I really don't...
Something, because it's bare, man. It's just, like... Just doesn't look right.
Are you judging an alien species by human beauty standards?
Not that I'm saying that they're ugly. Well, they are ugly, but I'm just saying that, like, they should wear clothes. That's all I'm saying. I just want them in clothes. They just don't look right.
Well, anyway, they've gone off to repopulate the species and...
Well, did you like the thing how it's like they need to have their own planet to themselves because otherwise they're going to go crazy?
What do you mean?
There was a line where the doctor was like, "Absolute solitude. What would you look for if you could hear everybody's thoughts?"
I mean, it makes sense.
I like that.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean...
Reminded me of that moment from Justice League where...
And clearly there's, like, at one time was an entire species of them, so I guess they're not as attuned to hearing each other's thoughts, because then they would start to be driven crazy by their own species.
I imagine that's what's going on. Can they choose to do it? Or is it like just a natural thing that happens?
I guess they must hear like thoughts all the time.
Well, I was reminded of that scene from Justice League where Martian Manhunter taps into the psychic tapestry of the Earth and then can't get out of it, and he just goes crazy.
I guess it works kind of like Charles Xavier. He's always picking up people's thoughts, but he has to like zero in on somebody specifically if he wants to like do shit.
I would not want the ability to read other people's minds. Of all the powers I could have, not that one.
No. Telekinesis is much better.
Telekinesis would be cool because you can knock out a couple of things. You don't. If you have telekinesis, you don't need super strength and you don't need to be able to fly.
Also,
you've got everything covered.
Also, pyrokinesis, very useful.
Pyrokinesis, I want...
Days of Future Past made a great case for super speed.
It did. I want the ability to... I want invisibility, but I want to be able to turn it off and on. I don't want it like the Invisible Man, because we all saw how well that turned out.
You don't want to be Claude Rains?
I would like to be Claude Rains. I just don't want to be his version of the Invisible Man, because I don't want to go on a killing spree and then get shot in the snow. I also don't want to have to walk around the snow naked. I need a suit of some kind.
I just imagine that you find a genie, right? And you tell the genie, you say, "I want to be the Invisible Man," and he turns you into Claude Rains, and you're like, "This is not what I meant."
He just puts you in the fucking costume.
I mean, he literally turns you into Claude Rains, and you're like, "Wait a minute.
This is not what I asked for!" Wait, hang on, that's not Claude Rains. I used to do a really good Claude Rains impression.
You gotta do this, like, husky, like, British accent.
Hang on, I gotta think of a line from The Invisible Man.
Either that or the insane...
the power to walk into the vault of... Wait, hang on. What is that line where he's talking to his lady about, like, what he's gonna do with these powers?
I don't remember, and I just watched this earlier today, huh?
Even the moon's frightened of me! There it is, that's it. Even the moon's frightened of me.
Here we go gathering nuts in May.
Nuts in May, nuts in May. Here we go gathering nuts in May on a cold and frosty morning. Hee-hee! I want those powers, I just don't want to have to be naked.
I've decided that if I ever do anything where I have a character with invisibility powers, I want them to have a character like quirk where they just like hum or whistle that song.
As a reference to the Invisible Man?
No, Bill, as a reference to the song. Yes, as a reference to the Invisible Man.
Well, I'm just asking for clarification. They're remaking the Invisible Man. I don't know why, but they are.
But we already had the Hollow Man,
which was not terrible. It's got Kevin Bacon in it, so that's something.
Hey, Kevin Bacon. All right.
I approve. But everything except for Kevin Bacon sucks about it.
Sign me up for that bacon. No.
It's more based on the sequels to the original movie than it is on the original movie.
Right.
Of the Vincent Price version of the character. Does the box that you have include the sequels to The Invisible Man?
No. The only sequel that's included in the Universal Classic Monsters Essentials Collection, the only sequel that is included is Bride. The rest of them are just the originals.
Not even the sequels to Creature from the Black Lagoon?
No, but why would you want those?
I haven't seen the third one at all, so.
No, but it's just the originals.
The second one's not awful.
Except for Phantom of the Opera with Claude Rains, because technically that's not an original.
Well, what do you mean?
It's a remake.
Okay, fine. Well, technically so is Frankenstein.
Are you talking about the Thomas Edison silent picture?
I am talking about the You're damn right I am.
That barely counts. That's like saying that Dracula is a remake of Nosferatu.
It is a remake.
It's not really.
It's also not based on the book. It's based on the stage production.
That's actually a major difference. Nosferatu is more closely based on the book than Dracula is.
Yeah, it's the 1931 version of Dracula is not really based on the book. It's more based on the stage version.
See, that's the thing.
Which it is almost identical to.
The Frankenstein version is also more based. The Frankenstein movie is also more based on its stage version. The Edison movie is.
Yeah, but it's changed more from that. Even listen.
The Edison movie is not
the original,
based on anything.
The Edison movie is also not very good. So not that it's like easy to even like determine the quality of itself, because it just exists. It's not good or bad. It just exists.
It's so experimental. Movies up to a certain point in time are so experimental. There needs to be a...
Like, you can't critically analyze, like, The Great Train Robbery. It just exists, and you just watch it because somebody did this in 1898. It's like... No, that wasn't 1890... No, it wasn't the 1800s. What was that? 1906, maybe? Something like that. But if you watch, like, Trip to the Moon, it's like they made this in the 1800s. You have to, like... You can't criticize it on an analytical level. You just have to watch it as a curiosity piece.
Yeah, that's chaos. No, that's Thomas Edison's Frankenstein.
Yeah, it is.
The monster.
But listen.
Here's the difference
between it's not even like it doesn't even make sense.
Like, and here's the thing: the original novel doesn't expressly say anything.
That's the problem.
Electricity.
Is that
although
it
is possible that Mary Shelley might have drawn some inspiration from electricity, because this was around the time that they were discovering the fact that you could run an electrical...
They did that experiment.
Run electrical currents through dead body parts and make them twitch and shit, and like they were like traveling like science shows, and they would like exhibit this, and people would pass out in the aisles. And
they would also lie about it, saying that one time a body got up and jumped around and did things. It's like, no, it didn't. It twitched once, and you exaggerated that.
So there is a chance that there was some inspiration from that, but the book itself does not specify any methodology in terms of bringing the monster to life.
Right. Very true. The book, it actually, the monster comes to life in 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. I remember reading that and realizing that. The book isn't about the creation of the monster as much as it is about what the monster means.
It's more about the aftermath of the creation of the monster.
Very true. Exactly
right. In
right.
character study, the monster serves as a lens, because he becomes a product of the way people treat him, and so it becomes the whole story becomes a commentary on how people are shaped by the way they're treated.
Right. It's very much so. It's a god. It's kind of a god metaphor, because Frankenstein is the creator of this creature. And the creature is not a monster because it actually is very, very smart.
Yeah.
Downright philosophical, which I think is very interesting, because it's entirely different from the creatures and the way the monster is usually depicted in the movies, because it's not an innocent creature. It starts out that way, but because of the way people treat it, it does things and understands what it's doing. It doesn't kill Elizabeth or anybody and go, I didn't mean to do that. No, it meant to do it because it was treated badly, and it hates its creator for having been given that life.
Indeed. I remember the first time I ever read the book, I was astounded at how different it was. I was like...
I read it very young, so I didn't even notice it.
I was like, my God, they did the bride thing in the book.
Yeah, the bride thing is in the book. It just doesn't come to life. The book is not perfect, though. I think some of the movies surpass it. in terms of enjoyment. I think the book is smarter, and I think it's more intellectual, but I will always... I think my favorite version of Frankenstein, in terms of a serious level, my favorite Frankenstein movie is Young Frankenstein, but obviously that doesn't count.
Why not?
Because it just doesn't. Well, the reason actually is because Young Frankenstein can't exist without the movies based on the book before it. It's not really based on the book, or really, it's more based on the Universal version of the character.
And it's a weird mix of like the first 3 Universal movies.
Yeah, it's the first 2, but it's also largely dependent on the plot of Son of Frankenstein.
Yeah, and it has characters from Son.
It's almost identical to that plot.
And it's got characters from Son of Frankenstein. It's got the inspector with the wooden arm and.
Yep, and Frederick Frankenstein is a very, very similar character to Wolf Frankenstein.
And there's a
who's played awesomely by Basil Rathbone.
And there's a woman in, I don't recall if it was in Bride or in Son or both, who kind of resembles Frau Blucher.
Bride. She's in Bride.
She was also the hysterical woman in Invisible Man.
Yep, she's in Bride.
I love her so much.
Yeah, she's very annoying. James Whale was like in love with her, so that's why he kept using her.
He loved comedic moments in his movie.
It's like somebody just kill it. Just shoot it.
I love like those comedy relief, like stereotypical like British characters.
That is what makes those movies so interesting, is that they're horror movies, but they're so... Ian McKellen mentions that Bride of Frankenstein is a very campy movie, but it's not a silly movie.
No.
And I was like, that's a really interesting way to put it.
I'm also...
Because, of course, Ian McKellen played James Whale in God and Monsters, which is an awesome movie.
I'm also very interested by the universe they take place in, because with the exceptions of Creature and The Mummy, they all take place in this weird sort of...
Never Never Land type of thing.
It's a world that's a mixture of the 30s.
The biggest...
It's like the 30s, but it's also medieval. It's like those two things slapped together.
Well, it's not medieval, it's Victorian.
No,
For instance, the two biggest examples...
there are elements of the medieval as well. In terms of,
I would say it's
in terms of imagery, I mean,
what do you think is medieval about
some of the imagery in Frankenstein, like the way the graveyard and everything looks, there's a lot of inspiration.
I don't know if I call
in terms
that
of the society, the way the society is presented, it's more Victorian. But in terms of the Gothic imagery, some of the Gothic imagery that is put forth brings up an idea of the of the medieval. It's very old world European, basically.
Yeah, which is interesting because the actors are American, not by and large. Actually, a lot of them are British, but there are American actors in it.
Everything, and it's all done in the style of German Expressionism.
It's really hard to place them location-wise, too, because the Wolfman... I think the Wolfman and the original... The Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein are the three biggest characters, but also the 3 biggest in terms of this style.
Frankenstein is in Switzerland,
It's hard to place, though, because everybody's got a fucking British accent.
I know, but there's a moment where you see...
must take place in England,
There's
somewhere.
a moment where you see the name of the town or whatever, and I'm pretty sure that's an actual place in, like, Switzerland or somewhere.
Well, the original novel is set in Switzerland, I think.
Well, yeah, it takes place in several different locations, but the majority of the action, I think, is Switzerland.
Frankenstein himself is from Switzerland, though. He's Swiss.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, Young Frankenstein, it takes place in Transylvania, right. But Transylvania, is from Dracula.
Well, that's because Young Frankenstein obviously is a parody, and it's working off that sort of misconception by everybody that like all of the Halloween monsters are in Transylvania, and I'm like, no, they're not.
No, Frankenstein and the Wolfman are. The Wolfman is weird though, because
Dracula is in Transylvania in the beginning of the movie.
Because Lawrence Talbot is American. But his dad is Claude Rains, and he's British.
Yeah, what was the idea that he moved to America?
Yes, okay, it's not expounded upon in the original, but I know a lot about the Wolfman, but based on the different versions and everything. By combining the two versions that we have, the 40s version and the newer one, basically, and this is also in the original script, Lawrence Talbot moved to America to live with his aunt after the death of his mother.
Where he completely lost his accent and became just as American as anybody else.
And then his brother died, and he came back because of that. As far as I remember from the original. I know that's what's going on in the new one because I watched it recently.
What I just thought of?
What'd you think of?
Lon Chaney Jr., right, plays the Wolfman. In the movie, his father is Claude Rains, who would go on to play Phantom of the Opera. And in real life, his real-life father had already played Phantom of the Opera.
Whoa, that is fucking trippy.
Yeah, chew on that, everybody.
Also, Lon Chaney Jr. played almost every single classic Universal monster.
At some point, yeah.
He played Frankenstein's monster. He played the son of Dracula, who was actually Dracula. He played the Wolfman. He played the Mummy. He didn't play. The only one he didn't play is the Gill Man, really. You know what I'm saying, Dylan?
I know what you're saying. I mean, even if he had played the Gill Man, you really wouldn't know it.
Oh yeah. Also, people debate whether or not The Creature from the Black Lagoon counts as a classic Universal monster movie because it wasn't made in that era, but it is really. It basically is. It's also more indicative of the time in which it was made. It's more of like a science fiction thing, while those are more fantasy. Horror fantasy.
Yeah, which is why I don't really understand why people don't consider the Lon Chaney Phantom to be part of the cycle. It's like it's actually closer in age to the other ones than Creature is.
Yeah, that is definitely weird. I'm not really sure. Well, probably because it's a silent movie.
That doesn't matter to me. I mean,
but I think that's why it matters to some people. It's this. Well, consider this though, Dylan. Dracula was revolutionary because it was the first sound horror movie. I think that's why it's the beginning and why you can't have anything before it.
But it's so interdependent also because if we hadn't had Phantom of the Opera, you wouldn't have all these other Universal monster movies.
Well, if you didn't have Phantom of the Opera, you wouldn't have had you wouldn't have had Carl Laemmle, and then Carl Laemmle Jr. wouldn't have prompted his dad to make Dracula.
Carl Laemmle Jr. is the one who wanted to make more horror pictures. His father was not into the idea, and all of his advisors were like, "Are you crazy? That's a terrible idea." Here we are all these years later, and we have
80 years later.
People love horror pictures. But at the time, Laemmle Jr. was really the only one who wanted to do it, and part of the reason he got his way is that and this is one of the reasons why I don't understand why his dad didn't want to make horror pictures, two of their biggest successes in the silent era had been Hunchback of Notre Dame and Phantom of the Opera, which is why originally Carl Laemmle Sr. Said, okay, we'll do the movie, but only if Lon Chaney can play Dracula, which didn't work out because he died.
Where did London After Midnight fall in all this?
London After Midnight, was that even a Universal movie? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Lon Chaney wasn't always with Universal.
Was it? Hang on. Let's see. Because I know the movie that is a remake of it is not a Universal movie.
No, it was MGM. London After Midnight was made by MGM.
Who made Mark of the Vampire, then? Which is the remake of it.
Indeed. Universal had really just had Hunchback and Phantom.
Todd Browning directed Mark of the Vampire?
Apparently.
That is interesting. Who produced it, though? Who put it out? Yep, MGM. Also known as Vampires of Prague. Why did the characters' names have to be changed?
Good question.
Critic. Oh my. So apparently the movie was cut down. This is Mark of the Vampire. Because, listen to this, MGM cut out suggestions of incest between Count Moro, who's the main vampire played by Lugosi, and his daughter Luna. This was an unacceptable topic according to the standards of the production code, which I wrote a whole paper on recently for school. The original screenplay explained that Count Moro was condemned to eternity as a vampire for this crime. He shot himself out of guilt. After the cuts, the film shows with him with unexplained blood in his right temple. So, according to this, he became a vampire for no reason in the final film. But it was actually because he fucked his daughter.
Those damn codes. It's like that story with Frank.
Which I don't understand, because I'm looking at pictures of his daughter, and she's not very attractive.
It's like that story with Frankenstein, how in some places they thought that him throwing the girl in the pond was too much, so they cut that scene, but they actually made it look worse, because the way it is in the actual print of the film, it's very innocent. He throws her in thinking she'll float, and then she dies accidentally. The way they recut it, it's like he reaches for her, cut away, and then later the dad is carrying her into town. It's like, oh my god!
Yeah, it's like he strangled her.
There's even, the commentator was like, the way they recut it almost makes it look like she was, molested or something, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then I think Revenge of the Vampire. Because there's a sequel to Mark of the Vampire with Bela Lugosi where I think he fights a werewolf, or is it Return of the Vampire? Do you remember this?
No.
It's Return of the Vampire, and he fights a werewolf. Cool. Have you ever heard the script for Dracula versus the Wolfman?
No.
Where the premise was that they were gonna find the bones of the Wolfman under the water near Frankenstein's castle after the events of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and then they were gonna put them in moonlight, resurrect the monster, resurrect the Wolfman, and then they were gonna it was basically it was basically adapted into House of Frankenstein, because Dracula had the same origin, but as in that movie, he was a carnival attraction. That was like a skeleton with a stake in it, and they pulled the stake out and brought him back to life. And then they fight, pretty much, which is weird.
Okay.
There was also a bizarre idea of having Lon Chaney portray both Dracula and the Wolfman, because he had played Alucard at that point. How weird is that?
How would that work?
Well, I don't know. That's
were they gonna split screen it?
Well, it's possible. I mean, it's practically possible. It would have been unnecessary. It's get somebody else to play Dracula, you fucktards.
It's an unnecessarily difficult way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, I know that they didn't. I know that they couldn't get Bela Lugosi for some reason. He didn't. He only played Dracula twice on film, which is interesting. With the original and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which are almost 20 years apart.
The movie gets overlooked. The Man Who Laughs.
The one that inspires the Joker?
Creepy.
Okay. Why? I haven't
creepy
seen
as hell. People, it just needs to be mentioned more. People, I think people forget about it, and it's it was actually one of the earliest ones to start. It was one of the first ones that was not silent. They started introducing sound in it. It's a landmark. 1928.
Wow.
Picture. Conrad Veidt.
Is that in the box set?
No, it's not. And I want to get.
Oh, okay.
And I want to get my hands on it.
This is a whole box set of German Expressionism silent movies, like Metropolis and Nosferatu
Caligari.
and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Well, you can get the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari anywhere, because it's
public domain.
because it's public domain. Same thing with Metropolis, I think. I think that's public domain.
You know, Lon Chaney turned down The Man Who Laughs, and I'm like, are you high?
Who played The Man Who Laughs?
Conrad Veidt.
I don't know who that is.
He's the German expressionist actor who also played the creature in Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
The Caesar?
That's what it's called. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, and now you know why King Caesar is called that in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
And named it after the creature from Caligari.
Yeah, well, it's the same legend. It's a sleeping demon who's awakened to enact some kind of deed.
Oh. Well, I'll be damned.
That's where that comes from. At least that's what I've inferred, because that's what the creature is called. And then you have King Caesar in Godzilla vs. or King Caesar in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, who does the same thing. Unless I'm crazy, I've never heard anybody say that, but that's what I assume.
Oh, so now we're working on assumptions.
But it makes sense, though, right?
I don't know, Bill. Does it? Does it?
It really does, if you think about it. But anyway, I have no idea what got us on this.
I don't know. But say, since I was just talking about The Man Who Laughs, which inspired a certain comic book character,
you want to just jump into that?
Perhaps we could transition into a little something that was on TV, you know? A little something.
Yeah, pilot for a new ongoing TV show. So let's talk about Forever.
You might have heard of it.
Yeah. It's let's talk about the Gotham pilot, shall we? I don't know how much I have to say, honestly, because I heard. Well, actually, all right. So let's start with this. I heard such mixed things about this show when it first premiered, because I didn't watch it the night it premiered. I watched it the night afterwards on my PlayStation Trace. And every single thing I heard about the movie was something different. Like, some people were saying it was fucking awful, and some people were saying it was awesome. It was really, really weird. So I was like, I guess I don't know how it's going to be. So I went into it, and I was like, all right, let's see. And I for one, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Well, you know, they make some interesting changes.
I don't know if I like American Oswald Cobblepot.
Well, that's not even the change I'm talking about. Bruce is just a kid, and we've already got these characters. It was just.
Well, that is a little weird, especially with Edward Nygma, who is like. Well, Penguin. It makes sense for me because Penguin is always older than Batman.
You think the guy performing in the club was supposed to be the Joker?
That's who he's supposed to be. Yeah, everybody's been talking about that. He's supposed to be one of the Jokers. The producer of the show has talked about that. He's going to introduce several different characters who may or may not be the Joker, and might reveal who it's going to be by the end of the series.
But it was just weird for me starting the show with Catwoman, and then all of a sudden seeing young Bruce Wayne.
She really has nothing to do with the story, though, and has no dialogue whatsoever.
No, not really. I mean, I guess the idea is that by starting the episode with her, it sort of brings you in, because as soon as you see Catwoman, you know you're in Gotham, I guess, is what they're thinking.
I don't think that's necessary, though, because it looks like Gotham City.
True. The other weird thing is that Harvey Bullock is now Commissioner Gordon's older, more experienced partner.
That is strange. Usually it's Gordon is older than Bullock.
And Bullock is usually like this.
I didn't mind, though. I thought they were both still the same characters, and I love Harvey Bullock in the show.
I liked him a lot, too. I don't know that actor's name, but I like him. He was on SVU. He was on SVU great. For a while in the last season, playing a similar character, actually.
He's mostly known in our generation for playing the dad on Grounded for Life.
I used to like that sitcom. I haven't seen that sitcom in a while.
I used to enjoy it too. Yeah, that's what he was. That was his big break, though. And I'm sure if he heard that, he would be like, "No, it wasn't, but it was."
Yeah.
I do like that actor. He was also in Ghost Rider, which isn't so great.
Oh yeah, I always forget that he was in Ghost Rider. I bet he would like more people to forget that he was in Ghost Rider.
Yeah, well, it's pretty easy to forget he was in Ghost Rider because he has such a small role, and that movie is so completely awful It's pretty easy to forget. Not as bad as the sequel, though. The sequel is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Actor from Grounded for Life that's gone on to do other things.
No, the wife. The wife has been in some things.
The bitchy
as well.
daughter was also in an episode of That 70s Show, pretty much playing the exact same bitchy girl character.
I don't remember any of the kids, so no on that front. But in terms of the wife is currently in a sitcom called The Rules of Engagement.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, she's currently in that, and I've seen her in some other stuff too. She's Patrick Warburton's wife in that show. And then you've got... Who else was in that show? Let's see, I'm going to pull up an IMDb page. But anyway, big point, he was fantastic as Harvey Bullock. A very different Harvey Bullock in terms of his accent and... you know.
Yeah. But I like his character. I like it a lot.
Did he have a southern accent in Gotham? No, right?
I didn't notice one.
Her name is Megan Price.
The actress's name?
Yeah, that's her name. Grounded for Life. Conan Hogan. His name is Donald Logue.
Donald Logue.
No, not Donald. Donald.
Donald.
Logue.
What the hell kind of name is Donald?
Oh, his dad is a big actor. I see him in a lot of things. His name is what's his name? Richard. Oh God, Richard Rehell. If I showed you a picture, you'd recognize him instantly. I can't link it though because I'm not on my computer.
What his name was?
Richard Rehell.
Rehell?
Yeah, it's Riehle. Oh, the daughter was on an episode of That 70s Show.
Oh, it's that guy. He played the grandpa in Grounded for Life.
Yes, that's who he was.
Yeah.
The friend looks familiar too.
I've seen this guy in things.
The friend slash brother, whoever
he is. I'm pretty
sure
he's a brother.
He looks nothing like him though, is the thing.
So that's that guy's name. Well,
he is his brother.
I'm going to forget that very quickly.
I probably will.
This guy's like a dead ringer for Wilford Brimley.
That's exactly. I was like, is Wilford Brimley in this show?
What's going on, Dad? Diabetes.
I'm suffering from type 2 adult onset diabetes, and my pancreas doesn't work. Well, that's a problem, Dad. It is. I can't pee normally anymore.
Last night I had a dream that I was eating a delicious cake. Then I woke up. I had eaten my shoe.
I get up 5 or 10 times every night. I was eating my ice cream. I was eating my apple pie. And my medicine. And people with type 2 adult onset diabetes.
I was eating my family.
And my doctor said to me, Wilfred, I'm gonna give you diabetes.
Wilfred, if you want to get type 2 adult onset diabetes, I'm gonna give you type 2 adult onset diabetes.
And ladies and son, that's exactly the way it's been. And son, let me also tell you, it's good to laugh at people with type 2 adult onset diabetes. It's something you really ought to be laughing at. Oh, Wilford Brimley. I know he hates people making fun of those commercials, but it's impossible not to. Diabetes. It is, I just can't. Wilfred, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Brim, but I can't do it. You're a good actor.
Diabetes is no laughing matter. Diabetes is a very serious condition. On the other hand, diabetes is
fucking hilarious.
Hysterical.
That is exactly it, Wilford. Says, why don't you start fucking saying the name right, and then we'll stop laughing.
If you came onto that commercial and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have diabetes," I would be like, "I'm so sad for you, Wilford Brimley."
That sucks. But instead you're like, my name is Wilford Brimley. My pancreas doesn't work.
I have diabetes.
Then I'm sorry, Wilford, but I can't stop laughing.
Getting up every 15, 20 minutes all throughout the night. I was scared.
Wasn't afraid to die. Am I medicine? But back to Gotham, which does not have Wilford Brimley in it, but it would be so much better if it did.
I think that the penguin in Gotham could use a touch more diabetes.
I think, well, you can see the beginnings of the penguin in him, though, especially in the face.
Too tall, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. That's true. Okay, fine. I get where a lot of people hate this show, or they didn't like the first episode. I don't agree with a lot of it, though. A lot of people don't like the guy who plays Gordon.
What?
And I don't think he's amazing. I do think he plays it well, though, and I think that over time, as more stuff happens throughout the show, he will become more. He will fill more of the shoes that have been placed by previous Gordons, like Gary Oldman and Gary Oldman.
Now, he's the young by-the-books cop who's very idealistic and tries to do everything, right way.
Well, okay, here's what I'm going to compare.
I want him to turn into Gary Oldman. That's just what I want to happen.
Here's the comparison that I'm going to make, Dylan. He is like Bryan Cranston's Walter White in the first episode. He's likable, he's believable, but he's not super interesting.
He's not Heisenberg yet. And here's the thing. This is not Commissioner Gordon yet. This is Detective James Gordon, fresh out of wherever he was before he transferred to Gotham PD.
The war. The vague
war.
Vague War 2, as I like to call it.
Where did you come from? I was in the war. Well, which one? The war.
The war! Why did he get a British accent all of a sudden?
I don't know, that's a good question.
The war!
Why did he get a British accent all of a sudden? I got it in the war!
Bullock's just like, so tell me, Jim, where have you been? Well, I'll tell you, Harvey, I was in the war!
I am the war!
Oh! I am the one who wars.
War. Oh.
War. It doesn't even sound like he's saying war anymore. It just sounds like he's saying war!
Like he just saw something that shocked and astounded him, and he's just like, war!
War! It's like he saw like a war happening, and he was just like, war!
Stereotypical, like, old Asian dude. War!
Gogeta.
This guy's like, war!
War! We call it war!
No, but yeah, he hasn't become Commissioner Gordon yet.
No, I do like him, though. I think he's likable.
Detective James Gordon, GCPD, and damn it, that's what we came to this show for anyway.
I think the show's biggest problem is I don't think his lines are very natural. They sound a little bit like... They sound too much like trailer fodder for me.
You know what I noticed? This is a total nitpick, but it just sort of distracted me a little bit. Did you notice how everybody seemed to drop the I on the end of Falcone's name?
Yeah, they just call him Falcone. It sounds like they wrote it intending it to be Falcone, but all the actors were just like Carmine Falcone.
Like, what?
It's like, what do you mean? But isn't it inconsistent? Don't some people say Falcone and then some others say Falcone?
Maybe it's... I don't know how Italian names work. Maybe that's how it works. No,
it's Carmine Falcone. That's what it's supposed to be, Dylan. It doesn't matter how Italian names work. The character's name in the comics is Carmine Falcone.
Maroni in this universe, and I wonder if he's played by Eric Roberts.
I imagine they'll introduce all of No, Dylan. No, he's not played by Eric Roberts. He's played by the fat guy from Batman Forever, who was supposed to be Salvatore Maroni.
What, really?
Yeah, the scene from Long Halloween, in terms of Two-Face's origin, is in Batman Forever. It's just on the news.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy now.
Well, they say, prosecuting Gotham mob boss Salvatore Maroni.
I love Eric Roberts so much as Maroni, though. When the chick's all like, this is so loud in here, we can't hear each other talk. He's like, what makes you think I want to hear you talk?
I hear you talk. I love Eric Roberts. He's such a pimp. I want to put him in something. I don't know what yet.
Next time you want to intimidate somebody, pick a better spot.
Fall from the site.
I'm counting on it.
I'm counting on it. You know, Dylan, I just realized something.
What?
Dark Knight's a good movie.
You just noticed that Dark Knight's a good movie?
Yeah, Dark Knight's a good movie.
It's a really good fucking movie.
I know nobody has ever said that before. I know that that's a controversial opinion, but I like The Dark Knight.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's the best live-action Batman movie. I know that might be controversial.
I know that some people might have a problem with that, but I'm just going to come out and say that I heavily enjoy The Dark Knight.
And I realize that some people might actually prefer the next film over The Dark Knight, but I, for one...
I personally
still find The Dark Knight to be the best live-action Batman movie, although I do sympathize with the plight he faces at the end of the third film, because sometimes you just can't get rid of a bomb. But... That
has to be a reference to that, right?
I hope so.
Has to. You gotta know that Chris Nolan was on set going, everyone, I know we're making a very dark and serious movie, but I would just like to point out that our Batman, the Batman who is very dark and serious and is fighting because of the guilt of his parents' murder.
Just can't get rid of a bomb.
Can't get rid of a bomb.
Also,
and then he just walked away. Back to Mark 1, everyone.
Also, we've introduced Robin.
Just like to point that out to everybody. Everybody good? Okay. Back to 1, everyone. Christian Bale is just like, oh, so that's what that feels like.
Sometimes you just can't get rid of a bomb. Now I empathize with TV's Adam West. What?
You know what, Dylan? Christian Bale's a good Batman.
Christian Bale is a good Batman. I know he gets a lot of flack for the voice.
I don't love The Voice, but I like The Voice.
I mean, I've never watched that show. No. Anyway.
Dylan, please go home. You're drunk.
What was I saying?
I am home, Bill.
I am home. For all you know.
Did you know? I heard your mother screaming earlier, so I know you must be in some semblance of your home.
That was my grandmother. My mother is far louder and scarier sounding.
I'm sorry I can't differentiate between the muffled voices of your family.
I can distinguish between the muffled voices of your family members, Bill.
Well, they're not muffled.
No, but,
because my parents scream at the top of their fucking lungs.
I was going to say something. I don't remember anymore, Bill. It's gone.
We're talking about
Batman. Yeah, Christian Bale gets a lot of flack for the voice. I don't like the voice that he does. I do understand why they came up with the idea of having Bruce do a voice.
It's not his fault though, because it's way worse in Dark Knight and Rises than it is in Batman Begins, and the reason is because they make it lower.
Is that the reason? I just thought maybe he got throat cancer or something.
Well, if you watch Batman Begins, he doesn't sound like that. He still does the voice, but it doesn't sound as like...
And that's just serious, whispery voice. And then in the next movie, it's all like, where are the other drugs going?
Escalation.
It's one of the things Michael...
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. I love that line so much.
Michael Keaton has over him, sadly. Michael Keaton doesn't have to do it.
Yeah, you know my stance on Michael Keaton. I don't have. This is where I actually have a controversial opinion.
Michael Keaton doesn't have to do a voice to scare the criminals. Christian Bale has to.
Yeah, but he's also a horrible
Christian Bale has to go through all this trouble, being like, "I'm Batman," and he just goes.
Yeah, but also Christian Bale is actually good as.
He just goes, "I'm Batman," and they're like, "Oh my god."
But the difference is that Christian Bale is actually good as Bruce Wayne, so has to differentiate between them.
I still
Just
say
saying.
in a movie where you had Michael Keaton play Batman and Val Kilmer play Bruce Wayne, it would work.
That would have been the best of the 4 mixed bag 90s and 80s
Because they
Batman
don't look
movies.
that much different. Like, you could believe that it's the same person when he's under the...
No, they look pretty different, Dylan. Maybe... Well, I guess it really wouldn't matter when Michael Keaton was in the Bat suit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They don't look different enough. They don't look different enough to make a difference, because that was always my thing.
Michael Keaton isn't even built like Batman, though.
What do you mean he's not built like Batman?
He's not built like a fighter. He's built like
He doesn't have to
me.
be built like Batman. The suit has abs in it.
That's a problem for me, Dylan. Christian Bale, when he takes that costume off, built like a brick
TV's
shithouse.
Adam West was never built like a fighter.
Yeah, but that was fucking that show. He did no fighting in that show.
No, but he did plenty of explosive ordnance
Dylan,
disposal.
I'm just saying that Michael Keaton is not Batman to me, and Christian Bale.
You know who's Batman? TV's Adam West.
TV's Adam
West.
Yeah, you know, you're right. He's the best Batman by bar none.
You know who else isn't built like a fighter? Kevin Conroy. Who? And he's like the best Batman ever.
He's a voice! You know who isn't built like a robot? Peter Weller. But guess who's a really good RoboCop?
You know who's not an alien computer that destroys worlds? Corey Burton.
That's true. Speaking of, like, casting and stuff, how did you like Jada Pinkett Smith as Fish Mooney, which is a name that I despise? What kind of fucking name is that?
Is she even from anything, or did they make her up?
Nah, she's an original character.
I suppose that nightclub that she runs will eventually become that nightclub that Penguin owns.
Oh, the Iceberg Lounge? Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's true.
Fish Mooney.
She was not terrible. I thought she was going to be terrible.
I remember when the opening credits were scrolling, it was like Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm like, what, really? There's a Smith in this movie? But, yeah, I thought she did.
Here come the men in black. Gotham City Defenders.
I'm also surprised that they did the Bruce Wayne origin thing. I didn't know they were going to do that first episode.
I knew
like,
that.
Out of the gate, just like, bam, hitting me with that Wayne murder.
First scene.
Also,
I was listening to Babylon.
Is the guy who killed them Joe Chill or somebody else?
I imagine that's going to be a whole conspiracy. I don't think they're going to do Joe Chill.
Here's what I'm thinking. There was a very specific line where Bruce Wayne is describing him to James Gordon, and he specifically says that he was wearing a, quote, black mask.
You think he's going to be fucking Roman, what's his name?
Roman
Sionis?
Possibility.
You think Roman Sionis is going to be the guy that killed Bruce Wayne's
why
parents?
not? It was Joker once.
I'm interested. Well, that was stupid. I don't
you know
hate
what else was stupid?
89
you know
Batman.
what else was stupid? TV's Adam West. That's my new defense for everything.
No, he was not stupid. He was actually quite clever. And a very nice man. He's a nice man, Dylan.
He's the mayor of Quahog.
He's TV's Catman, for God's sake. What the fuck were we saying?
Something about TV's.
So there's a possibility that Roman Sionis killed Bruce Wayne's parents.
I mean, it could, maybe not. Maybe that line was just intended as a reference, but I don't know.
It would be but given how many references are in this first episode, it would be a strange coincidence, certainly. Did you notice? And
the only other thing about Bruce's description that stands out is the shiny shoes, and I really don't think there's a shoe shiner villain, although there might be. Batman does fight Calendar Man, for Christ's sake.
It's a reference to Underdog.
Oh, God. I mean, maybe there is a Batman villain that I'm not aware of who has like a shoe shining fetish. I mean, the guy fights Calendar Man, for God's sakes.
Condiment King. Of course it is. Condiment King killed Batman's parents.
My God, it was Killer Moth. Before he became a mutant giant moth.
That happened. When did that happen?
I don't know exactly when it happened, but yeah, at one point he makes a deal with some DC demonic character and becomes this, like, big mutant moth creature. That's the version of the character that was in the Teen Titans cartoon. So.
Oh, the show that I didn't really watch that much of.
And he has a different name when he becomes the giant moth creature. They call him, I can't even pronounce it. It's spelled Charaxes.
Carthax
Charaxes or something. But yeah, that's a thing.
It's
Topos. But yeah, that is a thing that happened.
Yeah. I back to Gotham. What did you think of Poison Ivy's little cameo? I was not.
I mean, is she supposed to be Poison Ivy?
Yeah, she's supposed to be Poison Ivy.
Because, okay, first of all, yes, she has, like, red, like, scraggly hair, what have you.
Dylan, she's supposed to be
But
Poison Ivy.
But her last name wasn't Isley, and that pissed me off.
That was the thing I was going to ask you. I was like, did you have a problem with that they changed Poison Ivy's name?
Her name is Ivy Pepper.
I don't know why they felt the need to do that. Just to make it really fucking obvious to people who aren't Bat fans that...
Hey, her name is Ivy. She's going to be Poison Ivy. Oh.
But also, I'm also going to ask you this. People who aren't Batman fans, would they even fucking care?
I mean, is there anybody who isn't a Batman fan these days?
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of people who don't like Batman.
They can go die.
Many of them are hipsters.
You know what?
A lot of hipsters don't like Batman.
They should all wind up and get their free complimentary punch in the face from TV's Adam West.
Well, a lot of people's problem with Batman is that he's just overexposed. Like, there's just too much of it. And I'm like, that's not an excuse for anything. That is the worst excuse for something, in my opinion. Because it's like, well, you don't have to watch all of it. You just pick what you like.
Batman is that over.
There's too much Batman.
I don't think Batman is any more exposed now than he has been forever. I mean...
No, I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean...
There's like a million Batman things right now. I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy, now we've already got Batfleck. Got cartoons on.
Well, it's been that way since...
The Arkham games,
It's been that way
Gotham.
since the 90s, though. You've always had movies and comics and cartoons and video games and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, but not like this close together, though, Dylan. Think about it this way. The new Batman was announced a year after the end of the last Batman franchise. That is really weird.
I suppose. All I know is I for one, would like more Batman.
I want more Batman stuff about Batman. That's what I want. Because this isn't really about Batman.
I want to wake up every morning and just like be in
with Batman in your
live in a world of Batman. I want Batman.
I would not want to live in the world of
Batman breakfast cereal. I want Batman. I don't know what
it exists. Bat-O's.
I would have called them guanos.
That is fucking disgusting.
But far more clever in a punny sort of way.
What would they... How would you advertise that to kids? Hey kids, do you like Batman?
Would you...
Do you like Batman's poop?
Do you like Batman?
Well, then, boy, do I have the breakfast cereal for you.
Prove your devotion to Batman by eating his shit. Now, see, it's like...
That is the test of a true Batman.
It's like Lucky Charms, except the marshmallows are shaped like poop.
It's like Lucky Charms, except the marshmallows are shaped like poop.
You see, it's actually very healthy, but it's got these little bitty bits of marshmallow in the cereal, so the kids think, ooh, this is candy, I'm having fun.
I love how you kind of devolved into an Irish accent. Oh, I love me some guanos. Oh, eating the Batman poop.
Oh, they're always after me, lucky turds.
Me lucky turds. Oh, Dylan, we have fun here. Gotham. I like a lot of things about it. I'm excited. I'm into it.
I think I'm going to enjoy watching it every Monday.
Do you think that there's a chance that they
I don't
may...
think I'm going to drop off of it the way that I did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though.
There's a chance that might happen. I mean, I'm more of a Batman fan than I am a S.H.I.E.L.D. fan.
Even with the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was like, I like this, but at the same time, I have it's kind of iffy with me. I don't know if I'm gonna make it that much longer. With this, I didn't really get that feeling. I thought it was very interesting. Of course, I love anything that's set in the Batman universe.
True. I'm more of a Batman fan than I am. Listen, Batman is my favorite comic book thing ever. As a universe. My favorite comic book character is the Hulk, but the Batman mythos is my favorite comic book thing.
It's Batman, man.
I like Batman better than I do. If you were like, who do you like better, Marvel or DC? I'd be like Batman.
Yeah, it's really weird because my favorite comic company is Marvel, but my favorite superhero is Batman.
I feel the same way. It's like, I like Marvel better by and large than DC, but I like Batman more than I like any other Marvel hero. It's weird. Can Marvel just buy Batman? No, I don't want that to happen.
Marvel bought Batman, but also bought the writers.
Batman would be like a selfish...
No, but what they need to do is also buy the writers. Buy the writers as if it's...
Buy the writers.
It's slavery.
Buy the souls.
Come to the DC auction here. We got fucking who's a Batman writer? We got him.
We got Denny O'Neil. We got Frank Miller. No, nobody wants Frank Miller.
Going once. Frank Miller going twice.
Frank Miller is not sold to anybody. He's like, good, I don't want to write Batman anymore anyway. It's like, good, go off and write Holy Terror 2.
Sold to the crazy-looking guy in the back with the beard. Alan Moore, what are you doing here?
And you just bought Frank Miller?
I have plans.
We're going to write Watchmen 2. You don't have the rights to Watchmen! So, what's your point? I'll worship my serpent god until I can control Watchmen.
We will spend months up in the woods in that cabin from Misery, and we will write the sequel to Watchmen. And the hairs on our chins will cry out, shave us, and we will whisper, no.
I also love that fucking Alan Moore is the one bringing Frank Miller to the cabin from Misery. A famous writer from the 80s who revolutionized comics captures another famous writer from the 80s who revolutionized comics and is going to force him to write a sequel to Watchmen.
Not even to write the whole thing, to help him write a sequel to Watchmen. and not shave, apparently.
And also not legally, because Alan Moore doesn't own Watchmen. His name isn't even on the Watchmen movie.
I'm going to buy it back. With what? I'm
going to pray to my serpent god and get $1 million to buy Watchmen. You're going to have to give them a lot more than $1 million to buy Watchmen.
Buy Watchmen with those sweet League of Extraordinary Gentlemen royalties. Yeah, I got about $10 and a ham sandwich out of that movie.
I'll resell the ham sandwich to buy back Watchmen.
So listen, Alan Moore, here's the thing.
I enjoyed this Alan Moore impression.
Here's the thing, Alan Moore. You look like Charles Manson, and you sound like a drugged up, like, John Lennon, and we just...
We just don't want to sell you. We don't even want to look at you. Your existence displeases us. Please just leave. He does pray to a serpent god, by the way. His religion is to worship the serpent god. I'm gonna go pray to him until you're all dead. You're gonna be praying for a long time then. I despise Superman, but I wrote a great Superman comic.
Yay!
I also hate Batman and the Joker, but I also wrote The Killing Joke. It's weird.
At the end of Watchmen, right, I originally had a giant octopus. Ask me what it means.
What does it mean, Alan?
Nobody's ever asked me that before.
It's always been meant as a rhetorical question.
I've always asked that, and nobody's ever actually taken me up on it. And now that
I don't know.
I don't really have a response to the question. What was the question?
Oh shit!
I guess the easiest way to.
You starting to sound more and more retarded as I do the impression.
I guess the easiest way to sum it up would be that the giant octopus, right, is actually like a metaphor for life.
That makes no sense whatsoever. That literally, Alan Moore, makes no fucking sense.
It's meant to represent the fluidity of life, you know. And
it's meant to represent the singularity.
As it moves through the water, right? Its tentacles undulating. That's
not how the squid thing moves in fucking Watchmen. It doesn't go in the water. It attacks land.
Shut up. And
Alan Moore, you wrote this thing.
I don't remember.
How the fuck do you not know?
I don't remember, man. There was a lot of drugs involved.
Yeah, that's true. He's majorly.
Why do you suddenly Why do you sound like a mixture of John Lennon and Ozzy?
You see now, it's an interesting problem.
A long time ago when I was in Burma, right?
I found a diamond the size of a tangerine. It wasn't even a diamond; it was a ruby.
This is not the story of why you sound like Ozzy. This is the speech from the.
This is the story of how you found Barry.
Alright, listen. Here's what actually happened, right? A long time ago, I met this cat named Hetero at a party, right?
This cat. And he sold me some bad shit, and together we wrote Godzilla vs. Hedorah 3. The Return.
There's not even a sequel.
Yeah, but so what? I'm not limited by your prejudice.
We wrote it anyway, and I think it would have been really.
We wrote it anyway. Ain't it just like references to a sequel that was never made?
We made references to all that sweet stuff that happened in the last movie, but there wasn't a last movie. We referenced it anyway.
You had to be there, man.
We just dreamed up, right? What we want.
You just sat there and we dreamed up a sequel and we just didn't write it.
Right? And we decided to dream up all the stuff that we want to happen in a sequel so that we could then reference it in the third film that we wrote. So why didn't you just write a sequel? Oh shit, that would have been a good idea, wouldn't
it? Why didn't we think of that?
I think I'm out of weed.
That's Scottish.
Why is there a serpent god in my house?
Oh, because of Czech eyebrows!
Why is there a serpent god in my house all of a sudden?
Why is the thing from Doctor Who season 5 episode 1 in my house? Prisoner Zero.
Really specific. I'm impressed.
Thank you very much, other Alan Moore.
I really hope Alan Moore doesn't die after this. That
would really suck.
It would
be I don't know. He's not a good person.
It would be less sad than the whole Robin Williams thing, but
I mean, I wouldn't feel as bad about making fun of Alan Moore than having him die as I did with Robin Williams. But
Alan Moore dies, I'm going to be joking about it next day. I don't give a fuck.
I love you still keep up the accent, even though you're clearly talking as yourself
it's gonna be like
now.
when Michael Jackson died, right? And all these people were who all these years ago had been making fun of him, all of a sudden began to act like they gave a shit. And I was walking around day after making Michael Jackson dead jokes. Just hey, his body got melted down into Legos.
Right, that's right, Alan Moore. I'm Peter Capaldi. And together we wrote an episode of Doctor Who that nobody will ever see. I love the idea of Peter Capaldi writing Doctor Who fan fiction before he was cast as the Doctor with Alan Moore.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember. It was, I remember we wrote fiction.
We wrote a story about the Doctor going back in time and fighting a giant apple.
Remember, what was it called? Silence in the Library, right? We took that premise and we wrote Silence in the Library 3. And
the return.
The return.
It was about the return of the Vashta Narada.
And we reference all this stuff from Silence of the Library too.
Electric Boogaloo. You should have been there, laddie.
That was where we came up with the idea of, like, the Doctor, right? Being, like, sexually attracted to a dinosaur. And
and then they stole it for Deep Breath. Well, they didn't steal it, I let them do it. Because fuck you, Alan Moore.
Does Alan Moore even watch television?
Alan Moore doesn't do much of anything. Aside from write really long books that nobody will ever read. No, that's not true. Somebody will read it.
I can seriously picture him in that cabin from Misery.
Not far off. He lives in the woods somewhere. It's true. And he doesn't fucking shave. You think he says that every morning he wakes up and just goes, my facial hair looks at me and says, shave up.
And I whisper.
And I'll whisper, no.
I don't know where I read that joke originally, but it's become one of my favorites.
It's really, really funny. Especially when it's Alan Moore saying it. Because he fucking hates Watchmen now, so it's like... He really does. He detests Watchmen.
Like, who wrote that piece of shit?
So I was reading Watchmen the other day. I think it's a piece of shit.
But you wrote it.
Stop yelling at me, my voice in my head. I'll do what I want.
I didn't write it. What are you talking about?
I'm so glad we don't have any British listeners that I know of because they'd be so fucking offended by our shitty accent.
Does he even do that thing that some British people do where they like...
No, I've never heard him speak.
Because I keep doing that thing where like you drop syllables. I don't know if he does that or not.
I don't even know if he says shit or shite. Because most British people, right, they say shite.
That's like, why are you saying shite? There's no E on the end. Or maybe there is. I don't know.
You sound like Winnie the Pooh. Oh no, someone's making a movie out of Watchmen.
Just Winnie the Pooh ever sounded...
Oh, Winnie
the Pooh ever sounded like that.
In every Winnie the Pooh movie
No, because he's usually got the voice of the fucking snake from Jungle Book. And that voice is like...
Now why is Alan Moore Scottish?
I don't know anymore.
It's weird, isn't it, laddie?
Alright, I'm going back to the other now, so, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so the French Revolution, right?
Novels. What were we saying?
I don't know, something about, like, Cthulhu or something, I don't know.
So, I liked Gotham.
I enjoyed it as well.
You're not going to stop that accent, alright?
I'm trying.
This is like after we fucking got back from G-Fest and you wouldn't stop talking like Jerry Lewis.
Oh, Alan Moore, this is Jerry Lewis.
I
just think you need to...
Alan Moore, this is Jerry Lewis.
You gotta stop with the
serpent gods. And the badness.
Snakes and the kidnapping Frank Miller and the Hawaii and the badness.
And the not shaving your beard when they cry out, shave us, and you whisper no, and the badness.
And the lady. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen a lady in years.
Even though I'm pretty sure he's married.
I live in the woods.
Alan Moore, this is Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, I married Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing. Because this is my swamp now. I don't think Alan Moore has seen Shrek. I have a suspicion that Alan Moore has never sat down and watched Shrek.
Joel Logan, no.
Could be wrong, but I have very low expectations that Alan Moore has seen Shrek.
Man, it's all ogre now.
It's all ogre now, yeah.
Quite so.
Let's yes, I wrote Watchmen. Really good. You know, of all the people who like wrote those '80s definitive revolutionary comics, the only one that hasn't lost his mind is Neil Gaiman.
Now he writes Doctor Who occasionally.
Neil Gaiman is like the nicest fucking guy in the world. I follow him on Twitter. He's very, very nice.
He's like the anti-Alan Moore.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. Did you like all the different, like, now we have Renee Montoya on film in Gotham?
Yeah, I like that.
Enjoyed that too. I like that she's a lesbian. That's good. That's from the comics. I doubt that she will become the Question, but that's always possible. But you never know. You never know. I'm trying to think if there are any other major Batman like Gotham PD detectives that haven't been put in yet. So we got Bullock finally. We got Montoya. We've got Gordon, obviously. I guess we're only really missing Harvey Dent in this show.
Yeah, we need some Dent.
But isn't he like supposed to be the same age as Bruce Wayne? In most continuities, aren't they usually friends like TAS?
Generally so, yeah. But this show...
Or no, not in the comics. In fucking Long Halloween, Harvey Dent hates Bruce Wayne.
Generally speaking, they are around the same age, but this show has already demonstrated that it doesn't give a fuck in terms of how old characters are in relation to each other. So why not?
Well, Catwoman is the same age as Bruce Wayne is. And Ivy is, like, younger.
Catwoman's not the same age as Bruce Wayne. She's clearly a little bit older.
Yeah, but, like, by a year, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say a year or two.
She looks to be about 14, 15, while Bruce Wayne is 12.
Alright, yeah, that's fair. She's only a few years older than he is. They could still have a romance later on down the line, and it won't be...
They could fuck, and it wouldn't be
weird.
Or creepy. If he fucked Gordon, that'd be a little weird.
It wouldn't be as weird as, like, Anakin and Padme. You know, that was weird.
Yeah, but... Listen, man, if you can fuck a girl who's... No, it's not that weird. She was what? Like 5 years older than him?
I don't know, it's just she looks so much older than him in that first movie, and then you jump to the next movie, and they're fucking.
How old was Anakin in the first movie, and how old was Padme?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what? In the Weird Al song, he's just 9 and she's 14, yeah. Alright, so she's 5 years. My parents are 5 years apart.
We cannot base our argument on Weird Al.
Weird Al does some research for his songs.
Alright, fine. It's not that weird in context, but it looked weird.
It does. It's clear that that's not the age difference of the actors.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the weird thing about it, is that what's her fucking name? Natalie Portman is not only 5 years older than that little kid from Jingle All the Way.
Episode 1 has a 6.6 on IMDb.
What's that kid's name? The kid from Jingle All the Way who then played Kid Anakin.
Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd, you're right.
And is listed in the fucking credits as Darth Vader.
What?
That kid is not Darth Vader.
Way to give it away.
Right?
I mean, they had a promotional poster where, like, he was standing in front of a wall and his shadow was Darth Vader. So that kind of gave it away.
Well, that's not spoilers. If you've seen the other fucking movies, you know what he turns into.
It's true. But what if you hadn't seen the other movies?
Then you would be really bored. Even more bored than you already were.
Is a question. No.
That is the question. Doctor Who.
I mean, I don't guess it matters about age. I'd fuck Natalie Portman.
Fuck Natalie Portman. I had a chance to fuck
Natalie Portman. You
Natalie
had a chance to fuck Natalie Portman?
I had no chance to fuck Natalie Portman. I know somebody who knows somebody who knows Natalie Portman. I was about to say,
you don't get a chance to fuck Natalie Portman, okay?
I think I actually made this joke before once, so never mind.
No, it's like the Yoda thing when it comes to fucking Natalie Portman.
Wait, Yoda's gonna fuck Natalie Portman? What?
Something Yoda once said applies when it comes to the subject of fucking Natalie Portman.
Fuck Natalie Portman? I would.
No, do or do not. There is no try. If the opportunity.
No, I didn't say try. I said I almost.
Comes up to fuck Natalie Portman. You jump on that wagon. Oh.
Jump on it.
Especially if Mila Kunis is involved.
Yeah, if that's involved, then you gotta jump on
it. Damn.
Damn! That's really all I wanted to say about Gotham, though, because we, of course, as always, got completely derailed and lost our train of thought.
Needs more Mila Kunis.
Yeah, it needed more lesbian sex.
That would have been...
Even though there was a reference to it happening with Renee Montoya and Gordon's wife, which is interesting.
It was very overt. They have fucked.
She has seen her pussy.
Oh, she's done more than see it, I'll tell you. Huh.
You know what I'm saying, Dylan? But anyway, that's besides the point.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. My pancreas doesn't work.
Last man accidentally ate a baby.
I will continue to watch it.
As well. I will. I look forward to seeing what happens. The preview for the next episode looked interesting. It looks like Penguin's going on a road trip and killing people.
I love how in this episode he kills somebody over a fucking sandwich.
Give me that sandwich.
That was the most unnecessary murder I have ever seen. He just slashes the guy's throat and steals his sandwich.
And it was just the ham.
It is the funniest thing I have ever fucking seen.
It was just the ham sandwich. There was no $10 involved. It's like, look, if there had been $10 with that ham sandwich, then it would have been worth it.
But you killed a man over a fucking sandwich. That's really bizarre.
Say, excuse me, could I have a bite of that sandwich? He's just like, slash your throat.
But he could have he wasn't even looking, though, Dylan, is the thing. He could have just stolen it and walked off.
Just grabs the dude's knife, cuts his throat.
And steals his sandwich.
I don't think the sandwich was the motive, though. I think he was killing out of frustration.
But it's a really weird sequence of events.
Because his plans to oust Mooney had gone awry. And he was angry, and he cut the dude's throat, and then walked away, because sometimes that's just what you do.
Just cut a bitch's throat, steal their sandwich, and walk away. I guess that is kind of badass.
Bitch won't make you a sandwich, you take bitch's sandwich.
I was kind of hoping we would get more use of the umbrella in this first episode, though.
Right, that umbrella was...
If he would have used an umbrella to kill somebody, that would have been way better.
The umbrella was the only clue I had that he was supposed to be Penguin. At first I was like, oh, there's an umbrella, but I'm pretty sure that guy can't be Penguin. I was like, that guy's way too tall and slender. He's not going to be the Penguin. And then it's like, hey, Penguin. I was like, oh, well, never mind.
I knew he was going to be I knew he was the Penguin. I knew the actor. They really lucked out in terms of getting an actor that looks like the Penguin.
Yeah, in the face.
The long nose and all that stuff. You ever just look at these actors and actresses and just look at them and go, like, they were born to play a character that with a previously established look.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I kind of felt with Henry Cavill as Superman. I was like, he looks exactly like Superman.
He also, this guy, this Penguin guy, he looks like somebody, and I can't quite place him. I feel like I've seen him somewhere, and I just have no idea what it is.
He looks also like he could have been a good Joker.
Yeah. I would have bought that. In my opinion. I think I would have bought that a little bit more than Penguin.
Really?
Again, it's.
I do think he's a little bit psychotic, overly so, in my opinion.
It's the build that kills it for me. I always picture Penguin as a shorter, stubbier person.
But he's like 21 in this.
Yeah.
Maybe even younger. Dylan.
They better do Scarecrow soon. I want to see some Scarecrow.
I don't know if we need Scarecrow in this. They'll probably do it at some point, but I don't know. I need to see Ra's al Ghul in some way.
That's even more of a stretch than Scarecrow.
Why is that more of a stretch?
Because
he would make more sense than Scarecrow in terms of the age thing.
How does Ra's al Ghul make more sense than Scarecrow? You got to bring him over from Asia.
He does it anyway, though. He's been in Gotham before that.
You have to have a plot reason for him to show up. With Scarecrow, it's just like,
That is such an easy thing to do, though. League of Assassins just does something in Gotham, and Gordon and Bullock have to deal
But
with
Ra's
it.
al Ghul is such a... You need Batman to take care of Ra's al Ghul. You know what I mean?
No, you don't. You need Jonah Hex.
Gordon can't take down Ra's al Ghul without Batman.
He can't take down Ra's al Ghul, but he can deal with them.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Ra's al Ghul existed long before Batman.
I understand that. I'm just saying.
I don't know, Dylan. I don't know. We're pretty far in there. You want to wrap this up?
The main thing to say about this is that it raises too many questions.
What raises too many questions?
Everything, life, Bill.
Life. Okay. Well, on that note, let's wrap this up, shall we? Godzilla Odyssey issue 2 should be coming in about a week.
Yeah. We released the last one on the 29th of August. So if we're going for exactly 1 month, then that'll be Tuesday.
Yep, something like that.
Or maybe Wednesday. I don't know. It's going to be sometime coming up here soon.
Sometime next week we will release the next episode, or the next part, the next issue.
Look for stuff, advertising that.
There will be a trailer. Of course, you can follow the Facebook page of Godzilla Odyssey, which you can get in the description of this video for updates on that. If you want to just get it,
you can also join our Facebook group Toho Nation, because we often do advertising over there.
Yep. There you can follow the actual fan fiction page, which is the better way to follow it, I think, because you'll get the thing automatically if you're a member of fan fiction.
Don't follow the story, because they're each posted as one shots. We've had a lot of people.
Yeah, no. Follow the page itself, because we're posting them as separate.
That way you'll get a little email notification like so and so has just uploaded a new story, and you'll be like, oh, cool, and you'll go click on it and you'll read it and you'll love it.
Well, that's up to you. We're not telling you.
I am.
Dylan wrote the next issue, so that's why he feels that way.
Very subtly putting all the blame on me. Anyway.
Yeah, indeed. So if you hate it, you know.
Actually, not even so subtly. Pretty overtly, actually.
Listen, it sucks, and Dylan did a terrible job. No, I'm kidding. I am kidding. I enjoy it greatly. I have read it many times. It is fantastic. So I highly recommend that you do that once that is out. You can also like the Sons of Sarazawa Network homepage for updates on all things SOS, including sometimes, if I feel like it, Godzilla Odyssey.
Indeed.
We don't do that as much, though.
No.
Because we have a page for that entirely.
Most of the advertising for Odyssey happens, A, every time we get on a podcast, and B, in those in those specified pages.
Yep. So you can do that there. But yeah, you should also join Toho Nation on Facebook for reasons of being a Toho fan.
You can meet a lot of other great Kaiju fans.
You can meet some bitches? No, you can't?
There's a few bitches. I don't know if it's the best.
And by bitches, we mean wonderful ladies.
I don't know if Toho is the best place to hook up with wonderful ladies, but...
I don't know about that, but there are certainly members of the feminine race.
And by wonderful ladies, I of course mean bitches.
Yeah, right, we mean bitches.
the feminine race.
If we have female listeners, I would love to know. Comment.
Are you out?
And tell us how offended you are.
How offended are you? Or have we awakened feelings of
Is that what you mean to say?
Or are you actually not offended? Are you actually incredibly turned on? No,
And are you single?
If you're into pasty white dudes who like Godzilla.
Who are overweight and have really disturbing senses of humor.
We got a show for you.
Have we got a show, and have we got two dudes for you looking for love?
If you'd like to wake up
the proud co-creators of the Godzilla flashlight.
If you'd like to wake up every morning with a bowl of guanos in bed.
which is way less gross than it sounds, though actually still pretty gross.
They're actually just marshmallows.
It's not actual poop. It just looks like poop. But it looks like bat poop, not human poop.
I'm not even sure what bat poop looks like, to be honest.
It's just kind of a mass of just brown stuff.
Okay. That's pretty much what human poop looks like.
Yeah, but human poop is in shapes and comes in different sizes. And it comes in different colors and varieties. And
well, as always, we have reverted to poop humor.
It took us till the end, though.
Oh, there was puke
good.
humor earlier. It just wasn't as pronounced.
Humor. Puberty humor. So that'll do it for this week's episode of The Demons from Outer Space. This one was really random. I don't feel like we accomplished anything.
I feel like we accomplished a great impression of Alan Moore.
We found out that Alan Moore is a crazy person, which we already know.
I already knew that.
So until next time, I'm Alan Moore.
I'm Super DM64, and join us next time when we'll be writing Godzilla Odyssey 3, and we'll be
Godzilla Odyssey 3, the return.
And we'll be referencing all the great stuff that you missed in Godzilla Odyssey 2, with Atomic Boogaloo, or Interdimensional Boogaloo. Haven't made up my mind.
It doesn't really matter.
I am the Walrus.
And I'm Freddie Mercury.
All of you bow before the Serpent God, Quetzalcoatl.
So tough. And as always, them Germans, they be fucked up.